Mr. Chairman, thank you so very much, and I certainly do appreciate the leadership of my ranking member over the decades, I can almost say, and I certainly hope that you will join him, as I know you have great leadership as well, and we have spoken about some issues that we want to work on. Just for the record, Mr. Chairman, we are crafting a fentanyl bill that we hope will draw bipartisan support, and we'll be happy to share it with this committee and the committees that I'm working with, along with the ranking member. To the witnesses, let me thank you for the sacrifice that you've made to even be here today. If we didn't have the opportunity to speak to the American people, we would not have the opportunity to be guided by the American people because we are public servants. I certainly want to say to Mrs. Kieselin, and I hope I'm with adequate pronunciation, that you have my deepest sympathy to have the loss and to experience what you've experienced. And we make a promise here, as I've done sitting on this committee, that we will put you first and we will find every solution that we can to keep dangerous criminals, but also to ensure the protection of the American people. So my deepest sympathy to you, and I thank you. Your story is needed in this room today. I also want to thank Sheriff Lamb for certainly representing law enforcement across America. We all have law enforcement in our communities, and I can assure you they are our neighbors as well as our protectors. I just came back from the border briefly with a senatorial delegation and talked to the men and women at CBP, stood by, as in fact walked to the point of demarcation between the United States and Mexico, watched individuals with day passes, I'll just use that as a parochial term, coming legally across, but at the same time watching canines and also being shown a small vehicle driven by an American young woman, unfortunately, that was loaded down with drugs, I think in this instance, marijuana. The CBP felt very comfortable with their ability to detect and to find the amount of drugs coming through the legal points of entry. My concern was this young woman, 19 now, has got a life ruined. They even said to me she probably got $100. I'm hoping not. I'm just stunned that she was not in college or somewhere else that would have been more productive. But I think it sets the narrative that is actually the facts of what we need to deal with in keeping the borders safe. And we know that we have a very extensive border. What you see in San Diego, you may not see in Yuma, you may not see in El Paso, you may not see in Brownsville, Laredo, and otherwise. So I want to indicate that, first of all, the app is working. Not out of my speculative lips, if you will, but out of experts that are at the board. It is working. It is challenging. You have to have the languages. You have to make sure people have access to it, are in places where they can actually connect. But our teams have set up individuals handling the apps. More resources are needed for those handling the apps and receiving the information. But that process seems to have some merit. So I see this has Secretary Mayorkas in here, and let me compliment the Secretary for being an immigrant and rising from his meager beginnings and serving us with great passion and assertiveness and firmness about securing the American border. I want to go to you, Dr. Byers. Our colleague, Congressman Ivey, offered a wonderful array of support that we gave to the system of immigration. $1.88 billion that Democrats did. And I remember about 2004, I offered and worked with then Senator Kerry for a major contribution. So I only have about 10 seconds left. Let me ask you about the Democrats' approach, but more importantly, that one question about our migrant mothers and children bringing over drugs to make us unsafe, or is there another scheme that is being used to bring over those drugs? I'll yield to you.
Right. Asylum seekers are not bringing drugs. They're the ones we heard about who turn themselves in, who request asylum. You're talking about the ones who are waiting at ports of entry to be able to use a phone app in order to apply for asylum. They're not bringing drugs either. We need a process for them to free up law enforcement resources to interdict people who are coming to do harm.
Do you believe that this process that Governor Abbott is using, $4 billion and putting the National Guard at the border, is enhancing any great safety in that particular small area? Would you just give a general assessment on that?
We'll allow 30 seconds. And then
Mr. Chairman, you're very gracious. I'm sorry, I read the clock wrong. I'm so sorry.
30 seconds.
So sorry.
Look, very quickly, I think ultimately what the Texas governor has to deal with is very difficult situation, but we are seeing a lot of people being arrested for very minor crimes and being locked up. They're not getting into the immigration process as they should and are entitled to under our laws.
I thank the gentleman. I thank the chairman.